Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a show where we'll be looking back on the manager Sean Dyche and how he's got on with Everton this season. A very eventful season, loads to look at, loads of ups and downs, so loads to discuss with regards to Sean Dyche and how he's got on here. I'm joined by Owen, who probably knows more than any of us about Sean Dyche, so um, probably the best person for the job here, really. Obviously, Owen, you were a massive supporter of Dyche when he arrived. You know, a year and a half ago now, and obviously he kept us up last year. And you know, I mean, looking at it on paper, the simple stats, the league position, and the points tally, he's improved us, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think you're being a bit kind to me, to be honest. I mean, I just I don't know. I just sort of like to base anything I say around facts and not um over hyped emotion or anything like that. Yeah, but I think it's pretty clear that Everton are a far better team than they were 18 months ago. I think.
Much
When you
worse.
look at the team, yeah, yeah. So if you look at the team towards the latter stages of Frank Lampard's tenure, it was chaos. The players were not really drilled into a particular system, so they weren't sort of bringing any kind of consistency, and there was just all kinds of chaos. I think since Sean's come in, I think what he's done best is that I think he's instilled an identity in the team, whether you like it or not. The recruitment for that system's been fairly clear as well, and I think he's just got the very most out of what he's got. And I think if you're a manager of any club at the bottom, out the very best out of what you've got, and he does that time and time again. And I think it's fairly clear to I think anyone with any kind of sort of reasonable outlook that he's a very good manager.
Yeah, he's certainly got the most out of what he got. Like you say, there's not a lot we've got at all at the moment. The resources are scarce as they get at Premier League level, and what he's done with it is very impressive. We'll look through the statistics first and foremost. So these are the statistics from this season. 45 games played in all competitions, 17 wins, 10 draws, and 18 defeats. 56 goals, 63 goals against. Um, the league position, we finished 15th in the end, but strictly speaking, we finished 11th. That's because of the 2 points deductions. Um, so obviously the 10 points reduced to six, and then the second points deduction of two. So the 8 point deduction took us down to 15th, really. We'd have ended up 11th, I think, on 48 points, which is not too bad. Certainly not bad when you consider the squad that we've got. Not as good in the cup competitions. Obviously, fourth round exit in the cup to Luton. Bit better in the League Cup than we have seen in recent years, though we got to the quarters and should really have gone through, but didn't. Um, some good winning streaks, and of course, then the really disappointing winless streak in the early stages of this calendar year as well. So a real mixed bag, but a mixed bag probably a positive outcome when you consider the rubbish that we've got at our disposal.
Yeah, I think everything has to be context based, doesn't it? I think if you're showing that to the Everton of I don't know 10, 15 years ago, it would look quite kind of underwhelming because they had a much more stable footing and a lot better players. But if you see it, look at it now, and with probably one of the weakest squads in the Premier League, certainly the weakest budget, a small squad, all the other issues that kind of go with it. I think it's a really good return, and especially I haven't even mentioned an 8 point deduction, which was originally a 10 point deduction. Um, so I think if you look at it overall, I think as a pure sort of coaching performance, well above what I think the capabilities of that squad is, and I think he's just a really like good manager and a good coach who, like I said, looks at what he's got and figures out the best way of getting them to play, and I think that's what he does really well. I think there was a lot of for me undue criticism at certain points in the season when we weren't winning games or the start of the season, wherever. But I think you've got to consider this Everton team as a team that isn't is one of the weaker teams in the league. And then outside looking in, if we were in, let's say Aston Villa's position or a really good position in the top half of the league, and you saw what um, Sean Dyche was doing with a team at the bottom of the league, then we I think we all be saying what a great job he's doing. So I think the a message for the critics would be what should he be doing that he isn't with what he's got available to him. And I think that's the only way you can really ever judge a manager is are they getting more out of the squad of what are they getting more out of the squad than there is currently where from for me the answer is yeah.
I definitely agree with that, but play the devil's advocate, obviously with the win the streak from December through to early April. Um, we've seen obviously how trigger happy Machiri was in the early stages of his tenure. Would that have almost certainly got him the sack 3 or 4 years ago?
But 3 or 4 years ago wouldn't have happened because he'd have had a lot better players and he would have had more money to spend in January, so that wouldn't have brought it wouldn't have been brought on. He wouldn't have had point deductions. He wouldn't have such a small squad. So yeah, he would have done, but it also wouldn't have happened because the sort of plight of the football club would have been a lot different as well. I agree that if he had had Richarlison, James Rodriguez, and all these sorts of players, or Luka Dean, and then we went 14 games without a win, and yeah, that's grounds for looking at his position. But he had a very like he had a very sort of threadbare squad, especially in wide areas. He had strikers out of form and out of kilter. And even in and amongst all that, there was still quite a lot of nil-nils and clean sheets that if someone just took that one chance, it would have gone a different
I can think of
way.
plenty of those. I can think of
So I think that
Eto heading
they were
over the
they were
bar and
pouring. Yeah, that's what I mean. So you can cut it up in any which way you like. I think it was a disappointing spell, but let's add on to the prospect of that we would have won a few games in that spell. Let's say just 3 games. That adds an extra 9 points to the total, which would have had us on 57 points. You tell me the squad 57 points. Not for me. I think, yeah, it was disappointing, but overall, you have to look at the whole season's worth there. He got more out of it than what it was worth. And I think everyone would have taken the season to have gone as it did if you'd have factored in the additional context.
yeah, well, like I say, without the points deductions, we'd have finished 11th, I think, which, it's better. It's the
Yeah,
same league position as Roberto Martinez got with Romelu Lukaku and Ross Barkley in the prime. So, it's testament to what he's done with a limited squad. I think we've had worse points tallies in recent years under other managers who had more at the disposal when there was the money to spend. And, I think that says a lot about how well he's done. The squad is so threadbare, but
he, he
um,
just puts everyone. He just puts people. He just puts people in the right direction, doesn't he? I think I I have no doubt that it's his way of working, and because you see it every week with how hard they work, I think the reason we don't win games is purely quality based. I don't think it's
mhm.
well, I certainly don't think it's tactically based, and I definitely don't think it's a lack of sort of buy-in or effort. I think literally any game we've lost this season has been down to perhaps a collective off day or one of those where we've just not had the quality to score enough goals. And I think if you have better players than that, then the story's different.
Definitely. I think, and that ties in with one of the last criticisms that I've had of Dyche. I've heard a lot of on social media over the season. A lot of people leveled this criticism at him that he wasn't making the right subs or he wasn't making enough subs. But again, is that just a consequence of the lack of options, the lack of match winners on the bench? Obviously, when you've got injuries, there's less than often there.
My rebuttal to that would be, what was he supposed to bring on? Yeah, we can all debate time, and I think that's a different question. But actual physical substitutions, I'm unsure as to what he's supposed to be bringing on. That's there. He's not like he's got Messi and Ronaldo on the bench. He's got to take a chance on Danjuma. I think he's opted no on more occasions. Throughout the season that Calvert-Lewin's a better striker than Beto. So you sort of whatever sub he makes, he's putting the team in a worse predicament. There's no the players on the bench. You can argue the right backs are much of a muchness, but apart from that, the first 11 that he's got is like considerably the best 11 that he could put out. So unless you want to sort of, I don't know, see a flat line in the quality on the pitch, then I don't think you're going to see many substitutions unless you've got players on the bench you trust and are good enough to come into the team. Timing's a different thing. I think there's some games where it's more of a twist of fate sometimes. I think there was a game, there was a game where someone came on and he rescued the game back, and the media was giving him praise. So I think it might have been the Tottenham game at home. I
Yeah,
think the subs
he did
might
make a big change towards the end of that game, and it did make a difference. I remember that.
yeah, one of them and it worked, but then there's other games where I think he's gone 4-4 too early against Luton at home, and we got beat. But that's the call you make. If you'd have kept the core on against Luton at home, I think we probably at least get a point in that game. But we went 4-4-2, and then started to look disjointed. So I think that they're the calls you make. And the substitutions are a weird one. I see almost every fan base in the league moan about the team substitutions. So I think it's one of them that fans want to see more substitutions and more different types of substitutions than the very experienced coaching staffs in the Premier League are willing to sanction.
So that just boiled down to everyone as football fans sitting there. They just it was not right. They want to change it immediately, but just
Yeah,
understandable. But obviously, like you say, the managers like got more experience under the belt, so they're going to make what decision they see fit, and we just have to suck
it's,
it up.
it's absolutely fine to panic as a fan when you're getting beaten. You wanted to try different things, but it's not a manager's job to panic. The thing about this Everton, even when we weren't getting beat, I kind of knew where I was getting at. It kind of it can be frustrating that why has he not changed this or that, but I think it's a better approach to take than that than one game we get beat with five at the back, and then it becomes a three, and then it comes a four, then 4-4-2-4. I mean, you just go rattling through all these formations, all these different starting 11s, and you're just getting beaten all of them. I think if you try and hone in one system that you think you can get the best out of, even if it's not going well, more than likely, I think going to see a click at some point rather than just throwing mud at the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we did see a lot of the managers who did get the sack in the last few years that did try and swap the formations a lot in the run up to the sacking. So maybe it does pay off to stick at it. And I think we'll definitely, obviously, we couldn't sack Sean Dyche if we wanted to this season, what with the financial situation, but I think that could prove to be a blessing in disguise in the long term. I think he's definitely um, made a positive impact on us in the last year and a half. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, then obviously we had the four straight wins in December. Um, really, really good performances. And then the other side of the losing streak, the winless streak, we ended up, winning the Merseyside derby, like you say, probably the performance of the season. I think Nottingham Forest wasn't too far behind that, though. I think that home game was another really strong
Yeah,
performance, brilliantly taking goals. I think we rode our luck early doors. John Pickford made a brilliant save, but um, beyond that, they didn't really trouble us, and we scored two very good goals and generally played well. And that kind of set the tone then for Derby just after that, and the rest of April and May, really, where we did end the season on a really strong footing. There was only really the Luton game where we didn't look our normal selves, but we just scored safety anyway. Even the defeat to Arsenal on the final day, I thought we were excellent.
me too. I thought we were really good. I think that Arsenal game, if you had someone a little bit different, someone of the wide areas who could go past people a bit easier, I think we scored a second before they equalised, and then we win the game. I think we did really well that game, but it also proved how we need a little bit more pace on the break because we were really held back in what we could do when we won the ball back that day. But I think that's one for the summer. I think well, I agree with the Luton game as well, but what you also have to factor into that was like the game of their lives. It didn't really mean anything to us. So I mean, it's hard to play when you're half the rate you normally would be in there performing above their normal rate. I think it does become a bit of a leveler.
Hmm.
But no,
I
like I
think,
said, I think
yeah, I think it's testament to Sean Dyche that we go into that Luton game with it a dead rubber on our part. I was just concerned that that'd be an important game in the relegation picture towards the end, but the fact is he did a good enough job that we actually went into that game safe already, and we went into the month of May safe already, which was unthinkable at the start of the season. So that in itself, even with the deduction, tells you how well he's done.
oh, another thing about that Luton game as well that we really dug in and got a point in that game, which I thought was quite impressive, given the fact it meant nothing. I remember about 8 years ago, we were top half comfortably safe, and we went away to Swansea, I think it was, and they were fighting for their absolute lives, and we got beat simply because we didn't look bothered to be there. And I think there was a few away games towards the end of that season where we sort of let ourselves down,
That was the
and that
Koeman
Swansea one
season,
as well.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I think we just didn't look bothered to be there, and didn't create nothing, and it meant everything to them. But even in that Luton game, it was there was a quite we were still competitive in the game, which was nice to see, and which is another improvement on the past where we've often been the ones that have been a bit of a charity case in them type of games.
Oh, you can safely say that again. I think that's one thing that Sean Dyche has definitely improved within the club, and that's the mentality. I think that the best mentality I've seen within the club, save for maybe under Ancelotti, but the
Yeah,
squad
yeah,
seems to have the best mentality I've seen, maybe with the exception of Ancelotti since Moyes was here.
yeah. Maybe that sort of first Martinez season as well. They did really well. Came behind a lot from defeat that season as well. So maybe we're going back a while though because the kind of seasons after that with sort of Koeman, Silva, and we've kind of not. There's been no kind of like fabric or mentality there, but what has held them teams together was its quality. This team doesn't have the quality, but it has the grit and the resilience and the sort of spirit and the tactical understanding that them teams didn't have. If you sort of glued them together, you'd have a perfect match, but never seems to work that way.
As far as Everton are concerned, anyway. But we'll wrap it up anyway with a general sort of summary of it. How overall, how well do you think he's done? I mean, it's pretty much answered the question, but what would you say to summarise that?
Yeah, like I've been saying, I think I would say he's done a first class job with what he's had at his disposal, and I think you can see marked improvements from last season under him and before he was appointed. I think it's all heading in the right direction. It's just whether that can continue and whether he can get enough back and to be able to make it continue this summer.
That's definitely like one last thing we'll touch on is that there's a couple of players who we didn't rate, like Dan Juma. Is that a bit of a thing to level at Elwell? Maybe should he be looking to bring in players who Dyche will definitely want to use because Dan Juma didn't. Obviously, we brought him in on loan last summer, but Dyche didn't rate him. He didn't give him a few chances, but he quickly made his mind up, didn't he? So, do we need to really try and scope out the? Obviously, we're shopping in the bargain basement regardless, but we need to find the people that Dyche will actually want to work with. I think that's something we need to work on next season.
Yeah, kind of agree, but also with that being caveated that we're working in a very limited market and there's not going to be a lot of players available in the market we're looking at. So I'm sure he'll have to be creative as well, Dyche as well as Felwell, and hopefully they meet in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's paramount to make sure that we can continue the progress that he's made because you can't take away from the fact that he has made significant progress in such terrible circumstances. So
Agreed.
just got to hope that in the next couple of months the situation improves a bit. That there might be some updates on the ownership front, and if that happens, then I'm confident Sean Dyche can really try and put together a strong team that can push us up the league. But like you say, it's all up in the air at the moment. But with regards to Sean Dyche, I think we can both agree on the fact that his tenure so far has been a massive success.
Yeah, fully agree. I think it saved the club in many respects, financially,
Hmm.
spiritually. Um, yeah, just any in stature in terms of what the sort of status of the club in terms of the leagues. Um, I think he's done a top job, and I'm glad that it's finally been recognised.
Yeah, and obviously the last time we had a decent season and didn't sack the manager left. So fingers crossed that doesn't end up happening. Long may it continue. He sticks around and hopefully gets the chance to lead us into the new stadium and put together a decent side.
Hopefully, and hopefully, it also means that the club can go from not being in a constant state of chaos like it is at the moment. Hopefully, we can hope that things can only get better on that front. But I think they've definitely got better on the pitch, and I think that's only where Dyche can be marked on. That's the pitch, and anything else is out of his control.
Absolutely. So all in all, in certainly when you consider the consequences, he's done an excellent job, hasn't he?
100%, yeah.
So there you have it, guys. The seal of approval for Sean Dyche so far. Um, Easy to see, really. He's taken us from a 17th place finish last season to what should have been an 11th place finish, probably 15th when you know factor in the deductions. But even with that, he's handled it well. He's improved us this season on last season, and from the manager standpoint, that's all you can ask for. So leave it at that. Let us know your opinions, of course, on John Dyche's performance this season. Drop us a comment, give us a like, and subscribe for more content. Till next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.